we will be recording this session and sharing it out later. So already a win from our previous session. I remembered to hit record sooner, so we're off to a great start. Good evening, welcome everybody. Really happy that you are here. If you had just signed on, if you're joining us, feel free to chime in the chat where you are joining us from. Really excited to see so many familiar names, so many familiar faces of people that have been involved in our programming in the past. So glad you all are here. Tonight's session will be focused on that job and internship search that I'm sure a lot of you are in. So we will have some tips, some strategies on how to effectively look for opportunities, just some reminders on things related to your resume and effective networking and things like that. Then we'll have a little more session for some dedicated programming and events that we'll have specifically focused on those topics a little bit later on. But really excited everyone's here, really excited everyone's passionate and interested in learning more about this opportunity, and we'll get into it. Just to introduce myself for those of you who I may not have had the privilege of meeting quite yet. I have been connected with a lot of you just through email and through LinkedIn and things of that nature, but we haven't gotten to have a conversation. My name is Ruben Mercado. I am a program manager here at SHPE. I've been here for about a year and a half now, which is hard to believe. That time really flies by, but it's been a great experience. And my primary responsibilities are managing what we call the internship program. And I am expanding a little bit into doing more professional development for our students as well as our professional members. So career guidance, leadership development, things of that nature. I got my undergraduate degree at the University of Texas at San Antonio. So shout out to any Roadrunners that are here with us this evening. I also went to Texas State University for my graduate degree. So go Bobcats if any of you are here as well. Don't want anybody to feel left out. But I've got about 10 years of experience working in the higher education as well as nonprofit industry. And so a lot of my background is working with recruiters and hiring managers and companies on what they look for and helping students on their end as well. So with their resumes, with career development advice, things of that nature. So I've learned a lot of things and I'm still learning a lot of things, but we're here to provide guidance and feedback on all of those topics. Some of my other hobbies include running, hiking, live music, things like that. So feel free to talk to me about any of those things as well. I want to give a shout out to my colleague, Dr. Ana Rodriguez, who is here with us this evening. Ana, do you want to say hello really quickly?
Absolutely. Welcome, everyone. So happy to see you all. As you can see from my slide, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, so I'm a Boricua. And I did my master's and doctorate degree at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, and I had a great time. But that was before Christopher Columbus discovered America. So I joined SHPE in September 2018. This is wrong. I've been here for a long time, and I am very happy to be here with you tonight. And I'm here just assisting in the background, assisting Ruben with this great event. So enjoy all, and I hope you get a lot of insights. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ana, and thank you again for being here and for your help in kind of creating and curating the content as well. So excited to get started. Okay, so here's a quick rundown and overview of how tonight's broken down. So we'll spend the first portion talking about strategies for your search. So kind of determining what you're looking for and hopefully narrowing it down some. Some quick resume do's and don'ts. I know a lot of you attended our resume review session yesterday, so hopefully your resume is already in a stronger place, but we'll spend some time talking about some of that as well. And then some discussion on networking and LinkedIn, just how to stand out in some of those platforms, some of those ways as well. And then we will have some dedicated time for breakout room discussion. So we'll have a couple of guided discussion questions for you to start implementing some of this and kind of coming up with some takeaways. And we'll try to devote a good portion of time for that discussion as well. So let's get into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is that job search, internship search strategies. So before you get started, the first thing that I always encourage people to do is to have a resume and cover letter template. So the reason I say template is because anytime you are applying to an opportunity that you're excited about, you should be customizing it as best you can each time. I'll talk a little bit more specifically about what that means and how to do that later in the presentation. But it's helpful to have some templates ready to go that you can just update quickly and be one of the first people to apply for an opportunity that comes up when you see something that you get excited about. Also important is creating your map. So what I mean by that is really just determining where you want to be geographically. So do you want to stay local? Maybe you are somewhere that you already love, somewhere that you're interested in remaining, or are you open to other areas? Are you open to moving somewhere else, starting your career elsewhere, and just what's important to you and those things. So with all of those, it's important to, of course, factor in like the location, the cost of living, the career opportunities that might be available in different areas, and then of course talking to your family and loved ones and anybody else that is, directly involved in your life and would be impacted by you potentially living somewhere else or not living somewhere else. So just kind of figuring that out and determining what most is important for you. um, I've often told people starting out their career, it can be advantageous to being open to go elsewhere and kind of keeping an open mind in terms of where the opportunities might lie. But of course, everyone's situation is different. So if you, and maybe you're already in a great location for your industry. So it just varies from person to person, but just something to reflect on really before you get started. And then also thinking of related to that, networking opportunities and like if where you are looking to relocate to, if there is already a strong ship presence. So if we have a lot of strong professional chapters nationwide as well. So if those are, if that's a factor in where you are moving to, just being considerate of that as well. Also, before you get started, just making sure your profile is up to date on any job related, career related websites that you might have a presence in. So LinkedIn is the big one. I'll spend some time talking specifically about LinkedIn tonight, but also Indeed is an option. Also your university career centers, also the SHIP Career Center, which we will talk about this evening as well and share some links to. But SHIP also has a dedicated online career center where you can upload your resume. That's where the recruiters that are going to be at our national convention are looking and already picking out people that they want to talk to at the convention. So just being sure that to have a strong presence and things uploaded there as well. So getting into, again, once you've kind of refined that map, once you've got some of those starting things set up, doing some research into where you want to work. So what are the top companies in your industry? Where is their growth? Where is, if you're looking to stay local, what the major industries and major companies are in your area? Or if you're open to relocating, maybe based on the company, maybe based on somewhere you really want to work, where those things are. So, of course, some factors to consider, some important things when you are looking at different companies and things of that nature are the culture. So, looking for any data, any feedback that you could get on those things in terms of employee reviews. So there are some websites like Indeed and Glassdoor is another big one where oftentimes there are reviews from current and past employees on things like salary, on compensation, but also just like on the culture in the workplace. So trying to get your hands on any of that data. Your university's career center might have some of that as well. They'd have some insight onto like who's hiring in your area if you are looking to stay local and things of that nature. But also this is where networking comes in hand. So if you know somebody that's done a past internship or maybe a past member of your local ship chapter who is an employee somewhere, they'd be able to provide some feedback and some insight into that as well. And then of course, like the location and the cost of living. So I always use myself as an example for this. I live in San Antonio, Texas, which is fairly affordable. But if I was looking at a job opportunity in Los Angeles, California, or New York City, that's going to be different. So I need to get an idea of what I should expect in terms of salary because that offer is going to look different depending on where you are potentially relocating to. So there's a lot of a quick Google search or even utilizing Chat GPT or AI will give you some insight into if I'm getting offered this salary at my current location, what should I be expecting to make at this potential other location to still be able to maintain my same lifestyle? So just something to consider as well. Also, the growth potential. So you should always be thinking, even once you land that internship, once you land that first full-time job opportunity, you should be always kind of thinking of what's next, thinking of where you want to go in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years. So be thinking about that as you're kind of going through the interview process and as you're talking to potential employers at career fairs and at the SHPE convention and things like that. Just what opportunities are there to grow in this role? What are some other things that I might be able to get involved in as an entry level professional? So just looking out for some of those things as well. Also, benefits, just what they offer, of course, in terms of health insurance is critical. What they offer in terms of retirements. So if you are able to, what the options are that you can donate to financially, if they match the 401k that you could potentially be contributing to. Uh, Learning what a 401k is if you like are completely new to that and haven't been considered, but just kind of thinking through some of those things as well. Also, a big one is if they offer funding and resources for professional development or even getting an additional degree. So if you are finishing up your undergraduate degree, it's pretty helpful if you can get a graduate degree paid for, if that would be beneficial for your career and your industry, or even another certification in like AI upskilling or project management or something like that. So just things to think about and do some research into if you're able to get a hold of. And then any industry trends. So just knowing kind of where things are headed. So just keeping up with professional societies such as SHPE, which you're already involved in, but just for your specific industry as well, if you know what some of the hiring trends are, what some of the growth areas are, that it's just important to be mindful of that for the future as you're choosing where you want to start your career. So expanding on the portion that I was mentioning about networking. So just making sure that networking should be relational and not transactional. So what I mean by that is I think networking can sometimes be a daunting word for somebody starting out their career. You might be saying, I don't really know exactly what that means, but it's relationship building. So it's getting to know people, it's maintaining strong contacts with the people that you already know. And these are the people in this meeting. So you'll have some time in breakout rooms with some of the smaller groups, but these are the other members of your local SHPE chapter. These are the people that you're in classes with currently. These are the people maybe you're participating in another student organization with. So just keeping up with people, like even as your career progresses, this is where tools like LinkedIn or any of those sites are helpful, just to know what's going on with people and attending, as you move into your career, even if as you finish school, staying involved with your professional SHPE chapter and your local regional events and things like that, because you kind of keep up with people and it's a little bit easier if, say, 3 or 4 years down the line, once you've got that first opportunity and so and so that you went to school with works at this company, it's easier to bridge that gap when you've talked to them more recently than just whatever you all were in school 3 or 4 years ago, where you can say, hey, I was looking at an opportunity that I see your company's hiring for. Would you be able to make an introduction or provide a reference for me or anything like that? It just helps when it doesn't feel like, oh, I haven't talked to them in years. I don't know why they're asking me for this now. So just keep up with people, keep that relationship going, and be able to reciprocate that. So being able to do that for other people as well, like just kind of always keeping an eye out for where you can kind of bring people with you and build some of those gaps as well. So again, just talking to your classmates, fellow interns, SHPE members, and then also getting to know the faculty and staff at your schools. This is a point that I always like to emphasize because oftentimes I can't say that this is necessarily the best way to do things, but sometimes it is common that a company, a recruiter or a hiring manager, they already have just like a strong relationship with the professor at a certain school, and they may reach out to them directly and say, hey, I was looking to fill this position. Would you happen to have any students that are currently in your classes that you can recommend? So if your professor knows you, if they know the quality of your work, if they can speak to that, that will help you stand out in case an opportunity becomes available that way as well. And the staff as well. So, I mean, the people at your university career centers, the people at your colleges. So, a common trend now is that a lot of colleges and departments within universities have their own dedicated career centers or their own, they might call it a student success center. So any staff at those places, they might have a good relationship with companies and have insight into who's hiring and to what events and things like that are going on, and maybe hosting their own like networking events or their own recruiting events as well. So, and then just attending any of those as they come up. At my previous role at the university that I worked at, I worked in the College of Engineering, and we would often host recruiting events. And sometimes there wouldn't be a big turnout. Sometimes like 7 or 8 students would come. But you know what? Those 7, 8 students that come, they get a lot of direct one-on-one FaceTime with the recruiter that made the effort to be there. So just keeping an eye out for what's coming up can help you stand out and maybe get you in front of somebody in a less, I'll say, competitive and crowded area than like a major career fair at your school. So, and then attending like other networking events. So I keep mentioning that SHIP has a strong professional presence as well. I attended a great meeting that the San Antonio professional chapter hosted a couple of weeks ago, and there were a handful of students there. So like you might get to meet somebody who works at a company that you have an interest in, and different like region events. So SHIP has 7 regions, and our vice presidents that are over those areas, and sometimes they'll have like networking region specific events as well. So keeping up with anything that might be going on there that'll help you is important. And then any other location based career groups. So any other type of like networking events. A lot of big cities will have like a startup week, or they'll have like networking for engineers or just like young professionals. Even if it's not like engineering or tech or STEM specific, just looking out for like mixers, happy hours, young professional networking opportunities like that. You never know who you might run into that works at a company that you have an interest in, or just kind of a connection that you can build that way as well. So speaking of making that connection and networking and things like that, I wanted to spend some time talking about LinkedIn, but this is transferable to other similar sites. So I mentioned Indeed. I mentioned that your university most likely also has a partnership in place with, there's a few different career type websites specifically focused on students. I know Handshake is a big one that a lot of universities utilize. There's another one called 1220 that I'm familiar with. And there's a couple of other ones, but those are the 2 big ones that I'm primarily familiar with. But they function similarly to LinkedIn or Indeed, where they will post different opportunities, internships, jobs, things like that. And they'll be targeting specifically students. So having a profile there as well. So, but anyway, for all of those, for LinkedIn and any of those other similar websites, being sure to fill out the basics as best as possible. So having a professional headshot. If you don't have a professional headshot, a professional looking photo where you're dressed like business casual or business professional, look for an opportunity to do that. A lot of times universities will host events like that. I'm even familiar with some universities that have like professional photo booths right outside the career center, where you can just go in for free. You can take a nice looking photo that you can use on these sites. So just so you can stand out that way as well. Having a good like headline and about me section. I know LinkedIn has dedicated space where you can include just like an introduction to yourself. You can fill out an about me section that kind of expands on your background and your experiences and your passions and what you're looking for. So making sure that is filled out. Also, your education section. This is really important, especially those of you who are looking for your first internship, who maybe are looking for your first full-time job, that you are finishing up your undergraduate degree. Your education experience is one of the first places a recruiter is going to be looking at, because they want to know when you are going to be eligible for hire for full-time. They want to know when you can get your career started and just when they can bring you on. So just making sure that that is up to date, as well as any relevant coursework you might have taken, um, any like skills, like coding experience, any softwares that you have experience with that are relevant to the opportunity, is also important. And then any of your past experience as well. So one of the benefits for these types of sites, for LinkedIn, any of those, is that you can include a lot of past experience, whereas on your resume, you're more limited to trying to stick as close as possible to one page. So you can expand upon like just different experiences and backgrounds that you have on these sites. And really quick, the QR code that I have linked here is a past LinkedIn learning webinar that I had attended on 5 tips for using LinkedIn specifically for an effective job search. So they dive into a lot of the more specifics there. Some other stuff. So that was the LinkedIn content. Here's some stuff on networking and things like that, utilizing LinkedIn. And this is important because I talked a lot about attending networking events and things of that nature, which is important and you should try to go to as much as possible. But I understand some people are more extroverted than others. So maybe the thought of like regularly attending things like that sounds daunting or draining after a long week. So you can utilize online platforms and online connection opportunities for things like that as well. So make sure that you're updating all of these websites, all of these profiles regularly, and just like engaging actively. So commenting and sharing posts from your school, from any organizations that you were involved in, like SHPE. Our national office does a really great job updating SHPE's social media presence. So there's a lot of great content on our LinkedIn, on our Instagram, things like that that you can share, and from target companies that you might be following as well. So on LinkedIn, I know you can follow different companies. That's something that I do, like any industries, any companies that are relevant to my own career, I'm making sure to stay involved in. So you can follow them on there and just keep informed of what they're doing. And just, staying active in the comments, sharing what they're posting can be helpful and beneficial as well. And then connecting with a purpose. So this is something I always like to spend a lot of time on, because you should be utilizing LinkedIn to connect with, of course, recruiters and potential hiring managers and potential like future colleagues, but have a why, have a purpose behind it. Make sure when you are reaching out to people and sending connection requests, always include a message, just like introducing yourself. I've gotten a lot, there have been different seasons where I'll get a lot of connection requests from different like students or like recruiters that are looking to get involved with us. But if I don't know who exactly you are, if we haven't like met directly in person, for example, um, it can get confusing and it can get overwhelming where I see all these connection requests come in. So introduce yourself. This is also important in the follow-up when you attend career fairs, when you attend the SHPE National Convention, because the recruiters, the representatives from the companies, they're going to talk to a lot of people that day, and they're going to get a lot of follow-up emails and LinkedIn requests. So they could have a harder time keeping track of who it was and what they talked about. So if you're able to recall like a specific thing that you talked about, maybe something you laughed about, maybe like a joke you made, just anything that makes you stand out in their minds is helpful to include. And then I mentioned looking for recruiters and hiring managers. So you can follow the companies that you're interested in. I mentioned that list of 15 to 20 companies that it's helpful to curate when you're looking for opportunities. You can find who the recruiters are through that avenue. You can also find people with similar roles or people who maybe have done past interns. I think an underutilized strategy is looking at people that graduated from your school that work there. That's an easy request right there. You can send a connection request. You can say, hey, I'm a junior at such and such university. I see that you graduated from there and that you're working at this company. I would love a chance to just connect, maybe spend 15, 20 minutes talking about what you do and any insight you can give that was helpful for you when you were applying and interviewing. So that's an easy way to make that connection right there. So just different strategies and things you can do on those that can help you utilize LinkedIn more effectively. Um, and then just some other places to potentially look. So I talked about the SHPE Career Center. I haven't looked in the chat, but at some point, if we haven't already, at some point, we'll also include a link to that. So make sure that you're engaged there as well. That's a really important resource. Like I mentioned, the recruiters that will be at National Convention, they'll be looking there for people that they can schedule time with, that they can recruit directly. So if you can make that connection ahead of time before convention, that's only going to help you, because as those of you who have attended in the past can vouch for, it's a lot of people that are there. So make sure your resume is up to date and uploaded there, and that you have a strong presence and profile there, that you're just keeping an eye on things as they come open. Also, I mentioned your university career centers. So a lot of times they will post things directly that maybe you won't see elsewhere. Maybe there's a recruiter that's looking specifically to recruit at that school. So just keeping an eye there and just asking the staff at your university career center if there's anything like that that's come available. And then I mentioned target company websites. So that list of 10 to 15 companies that you've kind of curated, places you've identified that you have a strong interest in working in, just going directly to the source. Sometimes there will be a quick turnaround. I've seen some postings, particularly for like entry level roles and things like that, that were only up for a couple of days. So if you are able to just jump on it. Again, you've got that template ready to go. You're able to customize it quickly because you reviewed the posting carefully and you're able to curate your resume specifically in that way. That's going to help you if you can be one of the first people to apply when something becomes available. And then also asking your network. So again, just the importance of networking. So if people you know through your SHPE chapter that are working at places, asking if they know of anything, asking if they know of timelines, asking if they know who's hiring for specific postings, that will help you as well. And just any other way that you can utilize that network, whether it be past students that you've worked with or past SHPE members or staff or faculty at your university, just kind of keeping in touch with them that way directly.
Ruben, let me interrupt
Yes.
for a second. People are asking where this recording can be found. And
This record, yes, great question. This recording is going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So SHPE has a YouTube channel if you're not already following it, and we will share out the link. My goal is by tomorrow. So we'll share those slides and that recording to everyone who attended this session. So good question.
thank you.
And that's a good pause here. I was going to spend some time talking on resumes, not a lot, but I want to pause here for any other questions that maybe have popped up on any of the past content. I know I've been doing a lot of talking, so just like any specific questions related to anything we've already shared.
Please unmute yourselves and ask. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. You need to practice for national convention. So this is
Exactly.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hello.
Hi, my name is Damaris. I'm a junior at San Diego State University, but my question was, I know you mentioned like applying first to internships that can get you like kind of ahead. Would you recommend, because I was kind of trying to wait to also put my experience from this fall semester,
Oh,
trying to
okay.
wait a little bit longer. Do you think it's more important to like be one of the first to apply or wait a little bit to be able to put more experience, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. The first two things that come to mind are just to be mindful of if they have posts, a lot of times they'll post like how long it's going to be up for, or even if they have listed who the recruiter is and you can reach out and say, hey, I was just curious how long this was going to be open for. I just don't want you to miss it is the most important thing. And I will also say it can help to apply early, but that's not a deal breaker. So it's not and in fact, I read something from a recruiter on LinkedIn today that it can be daunting when they post something and people flood like the very first day. So I wouldn't worry about like applying right away or like the very first day or even 2 days. It's probably going to be at least more than, I would say at least a week, probably more than a week. So I would focus on getting your application and your resume right and making sure it's more than like being fast. So again, it can help to be early, but it's not, you're not going to get as long as you apply before it closed, you're going to be considered and looked at. So
Okay.
so worry more about that.
Also,
did you say and oh, go ahead, Anna.
And make sure you look for typos and any kind of thing
That yeah,
disqualified.
yeah, exactly. Also, shout out
Oh.
San Diego. I was there a little earlier this summer. Y'all have a great city. So
Oh, really? Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
okay. I saw a couple other hands raised.
Derek,
So
Derek is first.
okay.
Hi,
Go
how's
ahead,
it
Eric.
going? I don't know if you guys
Great.
can hear me here.
Yes.
Yeah, so I wanted to double back on the location for goals for
Oh
career
yeah.
changes, opportunities. So one of the things that is a big career goal of mine is actually to work international. How would
Cool.
we go about approaching that? Like if we wanted to work in industry and wanted to get to travel around internationally for work, not necessarily a couple weeks at a time, but I'm talking like relocation, moving and living there for a couple years at a time plus. How would we go about approaching that? Like how would we do the research and exploring those options?
Yeah, that is a really great question. I know for especially a lot of big companies, like a lot of places that recruit at SHPE and at national convention, they do have an international presence. I've worked pretty closely, I mentioned with Medtronic, and I know they've got a lot of like offices overseas, and that is a question that comes up. I will say, and maybe like in the breakout rooms, if any of our industry professionals that are here can provide insight into that. But it can be, I don't want to say harder, but a lot of times well, it can be a little more difficult, like based on previous feedback and questions that I've heard. But I would factor that into your research. I would look into the companies that you're looking at, if they have an international presence. I would mention it when when you're networking, when you're talking to like recruiters or like other professionals. I would also, so again, when you're following them on LinkedIn, you can filter by location where people are. So if you see somebody that maybe is working internationally and maybe has a degree from a university here in the States, asking them directly, because that is kind of a more niche. That's not something that I hear a lot. So that's cool. I love that you have that desire and that experience. But yeah, just being purposeful in your networking with that and asking specific questions about it, I think would be beneficial. And then of course making sure everything else is up to date in terms of course, like your passport and all of that too.
Yeah.
So
We
you're
want
not
to
playing
make
catch up.
sure we give you enough time for the breakout rooms. We have two people. So first, Jared Jordan. Please, Eric. Sorry about the confusion.
Hello, my name is Jared Jordan, and I'm a mechanical engineering student from New York University. And my question is, you said something about companies already looking at our profiles, and my question is like what should we do to, I guess for our profiles to get more looked at and maybe have a positive outlook on them.
Great question. I love that. So something that helps a lot is I mentioned that active engagement piece. So if you're logging in every day, if you're sharing content from from your school, from companies that you're interested in, if you're commenting on other people's posts, I don't know how the algorithm works like specifically, but it can like be helpful for you showing up in like other people's posts and suggestions by doing things like that. So just by having a strong presence, just by having everything filled out and up to date and actively engaging with those different commenting and sharing and like reaching out to people from companies that you have an interest in. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, that's, oh,
we are running a little bit out of time.
okay.
If you want to, I'm so sorry, Derish. Do you want to continue the presentation? Because we want to give them enough time for the breakout rooms, and we're running until close to 6.
Yes. Yeah, we'll move into the resumes. Good question. I also I'll also mention, look in to see if your school gives you access to LinkedIn Premium for free, because sometimes that is the case, and that can help with visibility as well. So quick plug. So yeah, some quick hits on resumes. Just the basics, making sure that you have a filled out like summary and objective. So the summary and objective can be a quick sentence. I've seen some of these that are a little long, so you don't need it to be more than a sentence introducing yourself and what you're looking for and your stated career goals. So your expected graduation year is important to include as well. So making sure, again, going back to that piece of the recruiters, they want to know when you can start full time. So just making sure that that is stated as clearly as possible. I've seen some people not get considered because that's hard to find. And if the first time a recruiter is looking at your resume, they probably are not going to spend like more than a minute, if that, just on first glance. So if they know they need somebody that's graduating spring 27 and they don't see that readily available, you might not get discarded entirely, but they might move on to the next resume, like looking for that. So just making sure that that is clearly stated. Again, making sure you are sticking as close to a page as possible. So if you've got a lot of experience, that's great, but be a little choosy on which content that you want to share and experiences that you want to share. So you want to articulate yourself as a well-rounded person. So if you've got some involvement experience, if you've got some part-time work experience, if you've got some undergraduate research or volunteering experience, including all of those, but making sure you're presenting yourself as a varied person with some of those things. And then also consistent font sizes and types. So just, I try not to go bigger than 11 or 12 on your fonts, and then sticking to one of the common ones, Arial, Times New Roman, one of those, nothing super fancy, just boilerplate. And yeah, your resume and cover letter should be customized, like I mentioned, but it is helpful to have templates ready to go, and use language from your job posting in your resume and cover letter. So if you see at the top of the internship posting that you're interested in, they want somebody with C++ experience, and you use that for a project or you use that for some research that you did, make sure that that is quick and easy to find on your resume and in your cover letter. And then this last bullet point, this is an under-discussed thing that I think people don't think about sometimes, but make sure when you're formatting and uploading your resume, you're saving it as first name _ last name, unless there are specific instructions about how to save it. And sometimes they'll say specifically like how they want you to save and upload it. But yeah, saving it as a PDF, I've seen issues where people will save it as a Word document and it's harder for the recruiter to upload. And then when they are downloading the applications and they're downloading the resumes, they'll have a folder with, you know, a lot of people in it. So if your resume is saved as something random, like a bunch of numbers or just they're going to say, who is this? It's just going to make it more like hard for the recruiter. So making sure to be consistent in how you do that as well. And then here's a quick thing on how to engineer your resume and making sure that it is result oriented. So make sure you memorize, screenshot, whatever that what it says there, the accomplished X as measured by Y by doing Z. So what you accomplished within that job, within that involvement, how that was measured, and what specific steps you took to accomplish that. So X being the goal, Y being the numerical value, Z being the task. Starting with strong action verbs and focusing on your specific contributions. A common mistake I see is that they'll basically just list out the job description. They'll say like, I was the treasurer for my ship secretary, so I was in charge of. I was like, okay, like I understand what a treasurer does, but like, what did you specifically do? Like, what were the outcomes? What were the results from you being in that role? So that's what the recruiter wants to see, and make sure you're thinking about things in that way. There's an example here of how to do that. And numbers are good. Numbers are great. Anywhere you can include anything quantifiable, please do, to give the recruiter an idea of the scale. And just some other quick reminders and tools that you can use for your resume. So of course, your career center, make an appointment, have somebody look at it, have somebody mark it up with a red pen. Ask at a lot of times SHPE chapters will do events like that as well. So taking advantage of those things. AI, Chat GPT, you can upload it there. You can get instantaneous feedback. A lot of universities have agreements with I mentioned some of those companies, they'll probably be utilizing some kind of software and some kind of platform where you can also upload your resume to get instantaneous feedback. So taking a look for that as well. And then asking any peers, past interns, past classmates, anybody like that to take advantage and to take a look at your resume as well. Quick plug here on some of our other upcoming events related to these topics. So we'll have a series of workshops in September specifically on interviews, how to craft your responses, what to expect, common behavioral interview questions, how to articulate your story and your experiences. So you don't want to miss those. You can scan those QR codes and sign up there. And then we will have a speed networking events with students and professionals on October 8th, where it's a good practice for convention. You're just going to meet a lot of people. You're going to practice presenting yourself, your story, with your interests, things like that. So we want to see you at some of those events as well. Okay, I made it to the breakout rooms right on the dot of when we were looking at. So awesome. So this next portion of the evening, we're going to have some breakout room discussion. And these are some of the guided discussion questions we would love for you all to talk about. So what is your main career goal for the upcoming year? What strategies have worked for you in the past in terms of your search and your applications, or haven't worked, or that you would like to implement? And what is a key takeaway that you have from this session? What are you going to do based on what you learned tonight that will help you when you are applying to things? And we'll put some of our students and then any industry professional guests, any of our mentors, will have you in some of the breakout rooms as well. Anna, anything else to add? Any reminders here?
No, I'll be opening the rooms. I'm assigning right now. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. And I'm going to pause recording here, but we'll do some share out. Y'all will have about 25 minutes in the breakout room, so plenty of time to talk. Don't be shy, share, and we'll love to hear some common threads and some talking points later on.
Okay, they're open. Everybody's being moved. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're waiting for everybody to come back. I'm so sorry. Ruben had a family emergency and he had to leave immediately. So good thing that I'm here to also support him, as he didn't have to close everything and leave you, like what happened? So, sorry to disappoint that you're not having Ruben, but at least you have me. So can anybody share what were some of the highlights that you discussed in your different breakout rooms? Go ahead, Nerish.
Hello. So I guess for the main takeaways that we got was that you should be proactive, you should be confident in what you do. Be prepared, make sure you research the company before you actually go, and make sure to know what role you want before you go in, and be involved in many clubs such as SHPE, and maybe helping funding for the going to the conference. And for the main career goals that we had was, one is to get an internship, preferably major related. Some people would want to get a job, especially we had ones in aerospace, and for strategies that have worked for us. And so first, go and message recruiters. That's main thing. So don't just cold apply. Make sure you try to reach out. Go to conferences. That's definitely one of the things. Utilize apps such as LinkedIn. Make sure your profiles are up to date.
Yes.
Before you go to conferences, make sure we say to apply to the positions, so you can already tell them that you've already done your role. Make sure you're confident, practice your elevator speech, and whenever you're talking to someone, make sure you have good enough eye contact, be confident what you do, and end with a firm handshake.
Well, two things that what you said. Also, one thing you forgot. Go and research for a position entry level or whatever you're seeking. Do also your research about what is the minimum pay that you can get. So if there is opportunity for you to negotiate, you can do that as well. Number two, we have a different idea regarding elevator speeches. So don't miss our other session coming of interviewing skills, because that's really important. So in any case, thank you so much, Darish, for sharing and for being so brave. Anybody else wants to share? Come on, don't be shy. Practice. You are going to be there at convention in a couple of weeks. Come on. You have to be in front of these people you don't even know, but at least you know me. So just don't be shy.
Well, I
Well,
can share.
adding,
Go
oh,
ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
well, adding to what Derek said, we also talk about being open to work, maybe in some not so good places, and then with an entry job, look for your own way to go to a place where you will be more comfortable.
Right. And don't forget, some companies offer you a rotation as well. That you start here, but then they put you there, and then they put you this other place, so that you can get all that experience to elevate you and for you to learn as much as you can during those rotations. Who was the other person who was talking? I'm sorry.
Oh, it was me.
Oh, hi, Damaris. Hello.
Hi. I was just gonna say, like, what we talked about in our breakout room. We got to like ask our professional about her job and how she liked project management and how she got into the role and some insight as to what her job is like. And then unfortunately she had to leave, but us students were also talking about our experience at the last convention, what we plan to do at the next convention, just overall like sharing our experiences with each other.
Absolutely. I mean, convention is coming really fast and furious, but I want you to look at your resume. We will be talking in the this is one of those promos. At the interviewing skills. I believe, and maybe, I mean, I'm old enough to be your mother, and for some of you, your grandmother, but I think we have instructed all of our students about elevator speeches. But what if there's a different way? Because if you go and meet these recruiters and you say that is your elevator speech, and Chandler says his elevator speech, and Alejandro says his elevator speech, how long do you think of listening to elevator speech that recruiter is going to be looking at you but asleep inside? Raise your hands. How many of you think that? Yeah, yeah, see? So what I'm saying to you is not crazy at all. It's about your story. And we will be discussing that. Because if Alejandro says his story is very different from Damaris's story. And the story is very different from Joel Gutierrez, and from Michelle Gonzalez, and from Brian Oliveira. So these are the things that you need to investigate. And there are also other companies that use other methods, like the STAR method. So we want to inform you so that you are better prepared to obtain that internship or job that you desire. But sometimes I know you're overwhelmed with your studies and you don't have the time to research. So the only thing you need to research is the company, as we explained today, and the position that you want in that company. And then we'll teach you about those other things in the other events that we will be having prior to convention. So don't forget, join us, please. This is important information that is gonna help you obtain that job and internship. Okay? We are here to help you. You're SHPE members, and we are here to assist you so that you can get to that finish line. Awesome. Anybody else has any questions? Please, this is your time. We have 2 minutes left. Come on, don't be shy. This is your time. And I promise I don't bite. Very, 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 very nice. And Jamil can tell you that. Dennis, your hand is raised up again. Do you have something to say? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I guess one of my questions is like, how early do you think we should be in the line for like the conference? Because I had some of my friends pretty much just camp out for the conference.
We are doing a different kind of configuration. So we're gonna give, for the career fair, there are gonna be tickets to the A group from this time to this time, and for the Greek B group from this time to this time, again on Saturday. So your most important thing is not when do you go in, but that floor is so big that you need to do the investigation once we put our sponsors and the exhibitor floor out there, because we have everything. We'll soon have that all in our website to see which companies you want to interview with. Because with the time that you have, maybe you can get to 3 because of the lines, or maybe at most 4. So you need to do that research before you get there and do your game plan. Otherwise, you won't be successful, because you want to go to 5 different companies, and let's say you want to be, I don't know who's going, but let's say Apple is there and whoever is there, and those are, and Google is there. I don't know if they will be. I'm just saying this as an example. But then you want to work for Apple, you want to work for Google. Also have other companies, because this is also some of the areas that you're interested in. They don't always have to be the big ones. Have a super company, a medium company, and a small company. And, if you strategize that way, then you're more able to obtain that job. Remember, you need to get your foot in the door, and then you can do more after you're there for a year or 2. Jamil, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
You are good. Okay, so what I was going to share, I was telling my group about this. I'm on the convention readiness committee for the convention, and we've been talking about this exact question. For those of you that have gone before, or if you've heard of convention and the concept of being in line a lot, please know we are working on eliminating those lines. So whether it's for the career fair, hospitality suites, meal events, and other things, the concept of lines is going to change drastically for 2025 for Philadelphia.
And
Okay.
the hospitality suites, you will
Yep.
get a ticket.
So what I will tell you is some of those things are going to be communicated I know sometimes Shep sends a lot of emails, and I've been with Shep for 20 years, so I love them, and I have a love and hate with the emails. But please read them if you're coming to Philadelphia. Also, at the end of the month, at the end of September, beginning of October, we're gonna host a What's New at 2025 that my team and I are working on with the Shep staff to tell you all about some of these things. We're gonna start doing some funny posts on social media because you gotta get out of the concept. And this will be my 16th convention, and I'm telling this to myself. Lines, if you are going with the concept of standing in a line, that is not going to happen. You're going to need tickets for things. You're going to need to talk to companies in advance so that you can get a ticket to go to their hospitality suite. You're going to need the correct access to the career fair, so you go at the time that you were assigned, not whenever you want. You were assigned a time or a day, or that I don't have all the details to that even yet, but lines are not going to be, we shouldn't have the lines that we had in previous conventions.
And also go to our career center, right? Is that what it's called, Jamil? And upload your resume. You may get a chance for a company to pick your resume up and give you a private interview. So use all the resources that we offer. They're there for you. Jamil, anything you want to add? Because we are a little bit over the hour. I've known Jamil for a long time.
No, I was just gonna say, I need to check in with Ruben because we talked last week, and there's a I'm looking for it, but there's a web page that is conference readiness or convention readiness, and we're trying to get all these resources to be on that same web page. And I think the recording from tonight should also be added to that web page because although it's not exclusively for convention, it is helpful to convention.
Absolutely.
And so we'll check in with him so that this is part of that recording.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank Jamil. Thank you so much for your time and for
You're
being.
welcome. Thanks for letting me jump in.
Of course. Oh my goodness. Yes. All of you, thank you for the time you have given us. We will have even more relevant content. Come back, see us, ask those questions, and start practicing. You will be now talking to strangers. So talk to us that we're your friends. Okay. So be good. Continue to smile. You're going to do awesome. Do good work in your schools and know that you'll do awesome. Continue with bringing up that GPA so that you can get that job that you want. Okay. Any last questions? Okay, without further ado, thank you all again for being here. Jamil, you are the best. You're awesome. And come back to our next session, okay? Be well, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.